Well, this sounds like it's a very complex collection of technologies that you have. But I understand that you've developed a novel approach to architecting these applications called LayerBlox. Can you tell us a little bit about what motivated you to do this?
Sure. So thus far we've talked largely about kind of how the high-level deployment architecture of the system works and what makes it interesting, but I've been pretty abstract with respect to the code itself and what gets loaded into those databases. You may recall at the beginning I was saying that one thing that makes our company a little different and our technology stack a little different is that we actually install code into the databases, and you can think of those databases as being active rather than passive. They're actively calculating and coming up with results rather than just being dumb data stores. So that code that we write and install in those databases itself has some interesting software engineering challenges because we implement all of the business rules in our applications in that code and then install it. And one of the things we've found is that particularly with applications like forecast managers and most of the other predictive applications that we're developing is that we often are not developing a single product, but in fact we're developing something more akin to a product line. That is, we find that there are many different, slightly different variants of use of the same algorithm, like forecasting, but that need to be deployed in slightly different ways for slightly different contexts. And so what motivated LayerBlox was after we had been doing some development on the Forecast Manager application, the first Forecast Manager application, we noticed that a lot of the work we were doing was kind of developing code that really seemed redundant. That we were developing the same kinds of algorithms multiple times for these different uses, and we wanted to find a way to unify that so we could do the development once very efficiently and manage this growing list of variants of the same component of functionality.
So this is getting back to the challenge you mentioned at the start about that each customer has their own specific needs, okay, but that you'd like to the extent possible to have a common solution to reduce your costs of dealing with the customers.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to have to develop a system, a component from scratch for each customer. If you've got 100 customers, you don't want to have to develop 100 components. Right? What you want to do is you want to develop one component very nicely so that it can be configured and packaged in different ways very easily. And that's what we developed LayerBlox for.